The first question for today's now we'll start the session. The first question is the relationship between nature and culture is deeply embedded in Indian artistic expression. Elucidate. We have to expand, like we have to give supporting points for this statement. Now we will see why has this question been asked. So this would be covered in GS1 paper. Now we have to give a association with the nature and environment that has been called as nature cultural relationship. Okay, now we'll directly see the answer. We will not see this part. We'll directly go to the answer part. So first we'll start with the introduction. Now what in introduction we have to write about the how the association is there in the Indian art. Indian art has evolved not in isolation from nature but through a continuous dialogue with the surrounding environment. So the Indian art has been evolved. If we see the paintings and all in the from the ancient till the modern period, we will see there have been examples of the surrounding environment. Across centuries, landscape, flora, fauna and natural forces have been served as source of inspiration, symbolism and spiritual expression in Indian cultural tradition. So this is the introduction. In same we are expanding that line. Now in body we will write examples. We will give all the examples how nature has been integrated in the art and culture of our Indian. Nature is the integral part of Indian artistic expression. First point is sacred symbolism of flora and fauna. Now, Indian artistic tradition frequently portrays plants and animals as sacred entities, like we have given them spiritual place with reverence to nature towards nature and ecological concerns. Now, example of this is lotus appears in the various stupas, Bhaurut, Stanji and Ajanta as a symbol of purity and spiritual awakening. Now, this was about the plants. Similarly, about animals, peacocks, elephants and lions are recurring motifs in Indian sculpture and painting. Next would be nature in. Now we have talked about the flora and fauna. Now we are talking about the how in temple architecture and sculpture nature is being integrated. Temples incorporated natural forms to represent harmony between cosmic order and earthly life. Example would be the Sun Temple, Konark, which was built in the 13th century. It depicts animals, birds and floral motifs alongside celestial imagery, integrating nature into sacred architecture. So in this way, nature has been integrated in the architecture as well. Next would be depiction of landscape in painting tradition. Indian paintings often use forest, rivers, mountains and seasons as central artistic themes rather than mere backgrounds. Example for this would be Pahari miniature painting portrays Himalayan landscape. So a landscape is also being integrated in the paintings. Next is seasonal cycles in performing arts. About this, classical and folk artistic tradition drew heavily from natural rhythms and seasonal transformation. Example, concept of raga and raginis associate specific musical forms with seasons such as Megh Malhar with monsoon and Basant with spring. Nature inspired folk and tribal art. Now, tribal art and folk dances are also being inspired from the nature. Indigenous communities represent the ecological surroundings through distinctive artistic forms. Example is Warli paintings of Maharashtra. They depict forest, farming activities, and wildlife, resulting close interaction with communities and the environment. Next is nature as the spiritual and philosophical theme. Artistic expression often view nature as manifestation of divine rather than a separate entity. Nataraj iconography of Chola period is the example for this. Conservation ethos through artistic tradition. Many art forms have historically promoted respect for biodiversity and environmental stewardship. So this is the other point. Example for this would be Madhubani paintings of Bihar. They depict sacred trees, fish, birds and sun, reinforcing cultural values linked to ecological preservation. So preservation also has been given importance through this. Contemporary relevance and heritage recognition. Enduring nature culture relationship continues to receive recognition in heritage conservation efforts. So the government is taking conservation efforts, and this also relationship, nature culture relationship, is being given recognition. Example would be UNESCO inscription of Shantiniketan in 2003. In 2023 highlights educational and cultural philosophy deeply rooted in learning through interaction with nature and open landscapes. So this all the examples we have covered in the body part of the answer. Now for the conclusion. Indian artistic heritage demonstrates that nature is not merely a subject of representation but a foundational cultural value. Preserving these traditions can strengthen both cultural continuity and ecological concerns in the era of environmental challenges. So here also we are linking it with environment. Linking in this way can fetch you easily +1 or +2 marks. So you have to link it with other papers as well, like GS1 we are linking with GS3. This is important. Next, the second question for the day is discuss the climatological factors governing onset and advancement. These are the keywords which we have to cover of what? Southwest monsoon. After that, in other part we have to analyze the causes of interannual monsoon variability. Now the monsoon varies. Now we have to talk about that as well. Evaluate its implications for regional development and how it is affecting the regional development of India. The reference is Down to Earth magazine for this answer. Now we will directly see the answer part of this. For knowing the basics, you can read this part as well. We will directly see the answer. In introduction, we have to write about the southwest monsoon winds and why it is important. Southwest monsoon is most significant climatic phenomenon influencing Indian geography. So southwest monsoon wind is very important for a country. Indian geography, economy and livelihood. Its onsets, progression and variability are governed by complex interaction between atmospheric circulation, oceanic condition and land-sea thermal contrast. So how does it vary? We have to give that as well. In the body part, we would be writing the climatological factors that govern the onset and advancement, like how it starts and how it advances. The reasons for this we have to mention. we will see the first point. Differential heating of land and sea. Now land, we know the rate of heating of land and sea is different, so due to this also the onset of the monsoon is there. During summer the Indian landmass heats faster than surrounding ocean, so land heats faster than ocean, creating a strong low pressure area over northeast India. So if we see in the map, the land is heating faster than the surrounding ocean, and for this reason there is low pressure in the northwest India that attracts moisture laden winds from the ocean. So from the ocean the winds are coming towards the land. So here is the diagram, you all can see. Okay, the next point for this is Thar Desert and the adjoining region develops intense low pressure during May and June, facilitating monsoon onset over Kerala and subsequent advancement inland. So where desert area also there is low pressure, and because of that winds are attracted towards that region. Next, this was the example. Next point is northward shift of the ITCZ. This is intertropical convergence zone. You all would have learned about this zone in the prelims as well. I won't be explaining this thing. The ITCZ migrates northward towards Indo-Gangetic plains during summer, drawing moist trade winds into the subcontinent. So because of this region also there is onset of monsoon. Example for this would be, according to IMD, it shifts close to the Ganga plain during June, aiding organized monsoon circulation. This is the example. Next point for onset is formation of Tibetan low thermal low. So on the Tibetan plateau, there is low temperature, or we would say low pressure. Because of that the winds try to move towards that region. Now intense heating of the Tibetan plateau creates an upper air heat source that strengthens monsoon circulation and supports low pressure development over Indian region. Studies by IMD identify Tibetan plateau heating as the critical driver for monsoon establishment. Next is cross equatorial flow and Somali jet stream. About this point, southeast trade winds cross equator get deflected due to Coriolis force and form the powerful southwesterly monsoon. So these are the basics. You all will get this in 11th class NCERT. All these points you will get in the 11th class NCERT about the monsoon. How is the onset of monsoon? Only that points we have to write in simple language in the exam. The fine later jet, that is the Somali jet. This is the example. Transport enormous moisture from Arabian Sea towards the Indian west coast during June and July. So this was the point about jet stream. Talking about the westerly jet and its withdrawal, the retreat of the subtropical westerly jet stream from northern India removes barrier to monsoon circulation and facilitates its northward advancement. So as the jet stream is withdrawing, it creates space for the southwest monsoon winds to enter India. Example, monsoon onset generally follows northward shift of this subtropical westerly jet stream towards Central Asia as observed by IMD. IMD is Indian Meteorological Department. talking about the causes of the variability, that is interannual variability. Now causes would be, first causes ENSO effect, that is El Nino southern oscillation, which India is observing this year as well. The effect of El Nino is the greatest in the decade if we consider this year. Warming of the central and eastern Pacific weakens the Walker circulation and suppresses monsoon rainfall over India. So this point, this answer would definitely be asked in the mains examination about El Nino or ENSO effect, because this year India is facing this thing. Example is 2015 El Nino association with monsoon rainfall of average 86% of long period average according to IMD. Next cause of the variability is Indian Ocean dipole. Variation in sea surface temperature between western and eastern Indian Ocean influence moisture availability and monsoon intensity. So because of both the oceans, the temperature difference between both the oceans, we see this variation as well. The positive IOD of 2019 partly offset adverse ENSO effects supported near normal monsoon rainfall. So this is the advanced concept of the Indian monsoon. Next is Madden-Julian oscillation, MJO. Eastward moving tropical connective disturbances influence active and break phases of the monsoon. So this is the other point. Example, active MJO phases have been linked with enhanced rainfall spells over central India. Next is snow cover and Eurasian land conditions. Excessive winter spring snow cover over Eurasia can weaken thermal gradients and reduce monsoon strength. Example, research by IITM Pune highlights links between Eurasian snow anomalies and monsoon variability. This is also one of the reasons for the variable monsoon received by India. Other would be the simple, it is very simple, climate change and ocean warming. Rising temperature alter atmospheric circulation, moisture holding capacity and frequency of extreme rainfall events. The IPCC 6th assessment report notes increasing rainfall variable intensification of heavy precipitation across South Asia. So this is the other example. Now what are the implications, what are the effects of this variability? Now as we know, agriculture is dependent on the monsoon, on the rainfall. So agriculture productivity is affected as well as food security is also affected. This is the first point. Variability affects sowing, crop growth and yields, particularly in rain-fed regions. Example, 52% of the net sown area remains rain-fed. So still 52% according to Ministry of Agriculture, making monsoon performance crucial for rural livelihoods. Water resource availability. So now we are dependent on the rainwater, so that also affects a lot. That is affected a lot. Fluctuating rainfall impacts reservoir storage, groundwater recharge and drinking water supply. Deficient monsoon years often reduce storage levels. So when there is less rainfall, storage would be less, and this is monitored by Central Water Commission. Regional economic disparities. So because of the agriculture, other activities also being disturbed. States heavily dependent on agriculture experience greater development setback during weak monsoon years. Examples are Marathwada and Bundelkhand. Okay. Next is disaster risk and infrastructure losses also there. Excessive rainfall. If there is excessive rainfall, there would be floods, landslide and urban inundation, damaging infrastructure and livelihoods. 2025 floods in Punjab and Himachal are the examples of this. Energy and industrial impact. Hydro power generation, thermal power operations and industrial productivity are affected by rainfall anomalies. Example, below normal reservoir inflows during weak monsoon years can constrain hydroelectric generation. So this is affected. In conclusion, were the effects of the monsoon variability. Now in conclusion part we would be giving a good conclusion. The southwest monsoon remains a dynamic atmospheric shaped system shaped by global and regional climatic processes. Strengthening climate forecasting, water resilience and adaptive regional planning will be critical for ensuring sustainable development and amid growing monsoon uncertainty. So this would be the conclusion part, like what we have to focus to minimize the effects of monsoon variability. Next, question number 3. This is about the welfare schemes for vulnerable sections. GS 2 or 3 also. It can be part of 3 as well. The future of welfare policy lies in building resilience rather than merely compensating losses. So we have to build resilience, not only by giving compensation. Examine institutional requirement for such a transition. This is from Indian Express newspaper. The article is from that and the question has been framed according to the article. Introduction. The nature of vulnerability in India is changing due to recurring climate shocks. Why there is vulnerability in India and how it is changing? Because of climate shocks, health emergencies, inflationary pressure and livelihood disruptions. Consequently, welfare policy must evolve from merely providing post-crisis relief. We don't have to give post-crisis relief, but we have to build long-term resilience that enhances households' capacity to withstand and recover from these shocks. Now in body, where resilience is the future, recurring shocks demand adaptive protection. One-time compensation cannot address repeated disruption. If there is a repeated disruption, giving one-time compensation won't suffice, because these are the frequent events which we have seen in recent years. Example, heat waves of 24 to 26 repeatedly affected livelihoods and power demand, highlighting the need for anticipatory social protection rather than episodic relief. Next is protecting developmental gains. Resilience oriented welfare prevents vulnerable households from falling back into private poverty after shocks. Example, World Bank's Poverty and Shared Prosperity report has emphasized social protection systems are critical for preventing reversal of developmental gains during crisis. Next, enhancing household risk management capacity. Welfare should enable households to absorb risk, then income security, insurance and livelihood diversification. Example, PM Fasal Bima Yojana seeks to reduce farmers' vulnerability to weather-related losses rather than compensating. This is the step taken by the government. Reducing fiscal stress of ad hoc intervention. Institutional mechanisms are more sustainable than repeated subsidies and environment and emergency packages. During COVID-19, government utilized DBT system, creating entirely new delivery structures. Institutional requirement. Now, which institutions have to play a role for this transition? First is digital welfare infrastructure. Robust, strong, efficient identification and transfer systems are essential for rapid and targeted support. Jan Dhan Aadhaar mobile, this scheme and DBT mission have enabled direct transfer of benefits to beneficiary, improving speed and reducing leakages. So this is one of the example. Shock responsive social protection welfare. Predefined triggers linked to inflation, disaster or livelihood shocks should activate temporary assistance automatically. The 15th Finance Commission emphasized strengthening disaster risk management institution and preparedness mechanism. Comprehensive social registry. Dynamic database covering vulnerable population, improve targeting and inclusion. The e-Shram portal have registered crores of unorganized workers, creating a foundation of future emergency support measures, strengthening corporate federalism. From the cooperative federalism in states, local governments as well as union together have to build this and they have to coordinate. Article 282 enables both union and states to make grants for public purposes, facilitating coordinated welfare intervention during crisis. Integrated social security architecture. Welfare programs should combine income support, health protection and livelihood security. Example, Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan JAY, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana and social pension collectively address multiple dimensions of vulnerability. Legal and rights-based institutional backing. Welfare system should be supported by predictable and accountable frameworks. In Swaraj Abhiyan versus Union of India, the Supreme Court stressed effective implementation of food security during drought conditions. Next point is data-driven early warning and preparedness systems. Timely information helps government shift from reactive to preventive. So instead of reactive action, you have to take preventive actions. Forecast by IMD is the example of this. In conclusion, we would be writing a resilient welfare state is the one that equips citizens not merely to survive crisis but to recover and progress despite them. By combining digital governance, social security and anticipatory institutions, India can transform welfare from a safety net, this is important, into a foundation of sustainable human development. So words you have to choose very carefully while writing introduction and conclusion. You would be fetching +2 marks easily by improving your introduction and conclusion. Try to remember the keywords used like sustainable development, sustainable human development, safety net, this digital governance. These are the keywords. So you all have to use the keywords in your answers, which would be easily fetching you more marks. Next, we'll move to another question. Governance, transparency and accountability, GS 2. Digital platforms have expanded freedom of expression but weakened the culture of accountability. So because of the digital platforms, freedom of expression has been increased. Everyone is free to speak. However, accountability has been reduced. Now, what are the implications of this democratic discourse? This is from The Hindu. We would be seeing the answer for this in introduction. Digital revolution has democratized communication by giving citizens unprecedented opportunities to express their opinions and participate in public debates. However, the same platform has also created challenges of anonymity, misinformation and reduced accountability, affecting the quality of democratic discourse. So it has plus advantages as well as disadvantages also of the digital platforms. Now, how digital platforms have expanded, we will see this. Democratization of public discourse through digital platforms have reduced traditional barriers to communication, allowing individuals to participate directly in public debates. It's easy for everyone to participate in the debates nowadays. Example, during public consultation on policies and government, citizens increasingly use platforms such as X, which was Twitter, YouTube and Instagram, to voice concerns and engage with public authorities. This was the example. Next point is amplification of marginalized voices. Social media enables unrepresented groups to highlight issues that may receive limited attention in mainstream focus. Campaigns related to gender rights, disability inclusion and environmental concerns have gained visibility through digital platforms and citizen-led advocacy. Strengthening participatory democracy. Platforms facilitate real-time interaction between citizens, elected representatives and government institutions. Initiative by my government encourage citizen participant feedback on governance matters. And what are the implications of this? How the accountability has been reduced because there is spread of misinformation and disinformation. Anonymous and unverified content can distort public understanding and influence democratic decision making. The World Economic Forum Global Research also has identified misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation means wrong information, disinformation means giving half of the information. Among the major short-term global risks affecting societies and institutions: erosion of civil and reasoned debate. Algorithm-driven engagement often rewards sensational content, encouraging polarization rather than informed decision. So we would be getting unnecessary information because of the algorithm. Studies by organizations such as UNESCO has highlighted the role of online echo chambers in deepening ideological divisions. Next is online harassment and abuse. Reduce accountability, encourage trolling, hate speech, intimidation, discouraging meaningful participation. National Commission of Women has repeatedly raised concerns regarding cyber harassment and abuse targeting women on digital platforms. There is weakened trust in democratic institutions. False narratives and coordinated campaigns can undermine confidence in public institutions and electoral process. The World Economic Forum also warned about the information manipulation, which can adversely affect institutional legitimacy and social cohesion. Difficulty in enforcing legal responsibility. Cross-border digital platforms and anonymous accounts complicate identification of offenders and enforcement actions. IT Act 2000 and related regulatory mechanisms often face challenges in addressing rapidly evolving digital harms. What is the way forward for this? Way forward is strengthening digital literacy and critical thinking. We will discuss only the main point, like citizens should be equipped to verified information and engage responsibly in digital space. Next point is enhanced platform accountability mechanism. Technology companies should ensure that greater transparency in content moderation and algorithm functioning. For this, government has given Digital Person Data Protection Act 2023. Next is promote responsible digital citizenship. Educational institutions should integrate ethical online behavior and civic responsibility into learning frameworks. National education policy has emphasized on digital literacy. This is the example. Strengthen regulatory capacity while protecting freedom. Regulation should target harmful conduct without undermining legitimate free expression protected under Article 19. Encourage multi-stakeholder governance model. Government, civil society, academia and technology companies should collaborate to address digital challenges. G20 leaders made a declaration for this. Democratic discourse flourishes when freedom is accompanied by responsibility and accountability. Building a digitally informed and ethically engaged citizenry essential to ensuring that technology strengthens rather than weakens democratic in the 21st century. Now GS3, question number 5. Currency management is increasingly becoming a balancing act between exchange rate stability, growth objectives and external sector sustainability. We will see the fifth answer now. Directly we will go to the introduction part for this. In the era of integrated financial markets, exchange rate influence inflation, trade competitiveness, capital flows and economic growth simultaneously. Consequently, modern central banks must manage currencies not merely a monetary variable but a critical instrument of macroeconomic stability. In the body, we would be writing currency management as the balancing act between exchange rate stability, growth objectives. Now we have to give about this point. exchange rate stability and inflation control. Excessive currency depreciation raises import costs, particularly of crude oil and critical imports, fueling inflation and destabilizing the economy. So when the price of the currency depreciates, imports become expensive, which leads to inflation. According to RBI monetary policy reports, exchange rate movements significantly influence imported inflation in energy dependent sectors such as petroleum and fertilizers. Next, growth objectives and monetary accommodation. Supporting economic growth may require lower interest rate, but such measures can reduce foreign capital inflow and weaken the currency during period of global monetary tightening. Maintaining accommodative domestic rates can widen interest differential and affect capital flows into Indian debt and equity markets. Next point is external sector sustainability and current account management. Competitive exchange rate can support exports, but excessive depreciation increases external debt servicing cost and import bill. Example would be the economic survey has repeatedly highlighted the importance of balancing exports competitiveness with external vulnerability arising from imported commodities. Sorry, the page has been changed. We will go to the fifth question again. Yeah, we were seeing this point. Managing capital flow volatility. Currency stability often requires intervention against sudden capital outflows while avoiding excessive reserve depletion. The RBI utilized foreign exchange reserves to smooth volatility during global uncertainties arising from West Asian tension and monetary tightening cycles. Preserving investor confidence. Stable exchange rates improve investor sentiment, whereas abrupt movement can trigger speculative behavior and financial instability. RBI's managed float exchange rate framework has helped maintain confidence among foreign portfolio investors and multinational corporations. Now, what are the challenges in currency management? Global monetary policy spillover. Interest rate decisions by major central banks significantly influence capital movements irrespective of the domestic fundamentals. The US Fed tightening cycle since triggered capital outflows from several emerging economies including India. This is one of the challenges. Persistent dependency on imported energy. High crude oil imports expose the rupee to external price shock and increase pressure on current account. India imports over 80% of the crude oil according to Ministry of Petroleum, making exchange rates sensitive to global energy markets. Volatile foreign portfolio investment. Portfolio capital can reverse rapidly during periods of uncertainty, creating exchange rate instability. This is because of the FPI outflows. Next is limited policy space due to growth concerns. Aggressive interest rate hikes to defend currency may adversely affect investments, employment and credit growth. Next example is economists have frequently highlighted trade-off between currency defense and domestic growth momentum. Next point is uncertain global geopolitical environment, conflicts, trade disruption and financial market shock. Complicate exchange rate management. The impact of Red Sea disruption and regional conflicts on trade costs demonstrate how geopolitical risk influence currency dynamics. Way forward is strengthen export competitiveness. Enhancing manufacturing productivity and diversification can reduce dependence on volatile capital inflows. Example in initiatives such as production linked incentive scheme to strengthen Indian exports. Next is deepen domestic financial market. Broader bond and currency derivative markets can improve risk management and absorb external shocks. RBI to internationalize Gift City seeks to strengthen India's financial ecosystem. Promote stable long-term capital inflows. Greater emphasis on quality FDI rather than short-term portfolio flows can improve external sector sustainability. India remained among the major destinations for greenfield investments according to UNCTAD World Investment Report. Accurate rupee internationalization. Expand trade settlement in rupee can reduce dependency on reserve currency and exchange rate vulnerabilities. Maintain adequate reserve buffers and prudent intervention. Foreign exchange reserves should be used to smooth volatility while allowing market-based adjustments. Now, in conclusion, we would be writing effective currency management requires balancing stability with flexibility rather than defending any specific exchange rate. Stronger export base, resilient capital inflows, and prudent macroeconomic management will be key to ensuring long-term external sector stability in increasing uncertain global economy. This was the fifth question. Talking about the sixth question, which is again from New Indian Express newspaper. Explain the role of flex fuel vehicles in strengthening India's energy security. Discuss the factors that may influence consumer adoption. Now we will see about this. In introduction, we will write India imports more than 85%. We have seen previously also. 85% of the crude oil is imported, making energy security critical economic and strategic concern. In this context, flex fuel vehicles capable of operating on varying blend of petrol and ethanol up to E100 offer a pathway towards fuel diversification, import substitution and sustainable mobility. So flex fuel is what? The combination of petrol and ethanol in the varying quantities. Now we are using E20 petrol, means ethanol is 20% and petrol is 80%. Eventually this would be increased to E100, which would reduce the crude oil import. Now what is the role of the flex fuel? How this would increase the India's energy security? First, it would reduce the crude oil import dependence. Dependence on the import of crude oil is reduced because of the flex fuel vehicles, because it is using ethanol. Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas reported achieved 20% ethanol blending in 2025, helping reduce crude oil imports and foreign exchange outgo. So import is reduced and outgo is also, foreign currency outgo is also reduced. Enhancing fuel diversification. Create an alternative fuel ecosystem, reducing vulnerability, global oil price shocks and geopolitical disruption. Because example is Russia-Ukraine conflict. Price of the crude oil has increased because of the conflicts. Next point is strengthening strategic energy resilience. Ethanol production from domestic feedstock create a decentralized energy base and improves long-term energy security. India's National Policy on Biofuels 2018 and amended in 2022 promotes ethanol production from sugarcane, maize, surplus food grains to strengthen indigenous energy resources. Supporting rural economy and feedstock security. Increase ethanol demand, generate additional market for agriculture produce and strengthen domestic supply chains. Reducing carbon intensity of transport fuels. Ethanol blended fuels contribute to cleaner mobility while pursuing energy security objectives. Example for this would be India's updated nationally determined contribution emphasize reduced emissions intensity to cleaner fuel and transport transition. Now you would be seeing the factors influencing consumer adoption of flex fuels, how the flex fuel would be increased and what would be the factors that influence the consumer adoption, that is more people adopt this fuel. First we would be seeing the availability. We have to see the infrastructure for this ethanol blended fuel is available. Consumers will adopt flex fuel vehicles only if higher ethanol blends are easily accessible across regions. The government has announced phased rollout of E85 dispensing stations across major cities and transport corridors to support adoption. Vehicle acquisition cost. Now infrastructure, now vehicle. Price difference between conventional vehicles and flex fuel vehicles can significantly influence the purchase decision. Global experience from countries such as Brazil show higher adoption when flex fuel vehicles were competitively priced. So government has to keep the price of the vehicles comparatively similar to the normal vehicles, conventional vehicles. Relative fuel economies. Consumers assess running cost based on the fuel price and the fuel efficiency compared to conventional petrol vehicles. Next is consumer awareness and confidence. Understanding of the vehicle performance, maintenance requirements and environment benefits affects market penetration. Recent launches of Maruti Wagon Flex Fuel and Hero Motocall Flex Fuel vehicle can improve public awareness regarding the technology. Now policy incentives and regulatory support is also necessary for this. Fiscal incentives and supportive regulations can accelerate early adoption. National policy on biofuels and sustained ethanol blending targets provide long-term policy uncertainty for consumer and manufacturers. In conclusion, flex fuel vehicles can become an important pillar of India's energy transition by combining energy security, farmer welfare and emission reduction. So all these are the benefits of the flex fuel vehicles. Their success, however, will depend on the timely development of a robust ecosystem encompassing fuel availability, competitive pricing, supportive policies and consumer confidence. So this would be the conclusion. Next, in GS4 in ethics, we would see technological sophistication without ethical restraint can magnify the scale of the harm. We have seen technology is good, but however, when there is no ethical restraint, this could magnify the harm on the society. Introduction. Technology is ethically neutral. We know its impact depends on the values guiding its design and use. When innovation advances faster than ethical responsibility, the scale and speed of the harm can increase exponentially. So this is the introduction. Now we will see how it magnifies. First is deepened deception and manipulation. Advanced technologies can create highly convincing falsehoods, making unethical conduct more difficult to detect and prevent. So unethical conduct can be difficult because of the advanced technologies. Now we have seen AI videos. We don't know are they are real or not. We are not able to differentiate. In 24 to 26, multiple instances of AI generated deepfakes and voice cloning frauds were reported globally, deceiving individuals and organizations. Next is mass level violation of privacy. Sophisticated digital tools can enable intrusive surveillance and misuse of personal data without informed consent. The Supreme Court in Puttaswamy vs. Union of recognized privacy as the fundamental right, highlighting ethical concerns regarding data misuse. Amplification of financial fraud. Technology enables fraudsters to target thousands of victims simultaneously with the speed and precision. So there are chances of fraud as well. According to Indian Cyber Coordination Center I4C advisory, cyber-enabled financial frauds increasingly use automated system and social engineering techniques. Next is algorithmic bias and discrimination. Artificial intelligence systems can penetrate unfair outcomes when ethical safeguards are absent. Example. Next point is erosion of trust in institutions. Misuse of technology can undermine public confidence in democratic, financial and social institutions. Rise of misinformation and manipulated content has been identified as major societal risk in World Economic Forum Global Risk Report. Next is ethical values needed to prevent technological harm. Now why ethics is important? Because there should be accountability and responsibility. Innovators and users must remain answerable for the consequences of technological actions. Integrity. There should be integrity in innovation. Technological development should be guided by honesty, should be the main pillar, and commitment to public welfare rather than narrow gains. This is also added in second ARC report. Respect for human dignity. Technology must protect autonomy, privacy, and individual rights. Example is Digital Personal Data Prevention Protection Act seeks to ensure responsible handling of personal data and respect of individual consent. There should be transparency and explainability. Citizens should understand how technology-driven decisions are made and implemented. Next is compassion and public interest orientation. Innovation should prioritize human welfare, especially for vulnerable groups. AI-assisted healthcare diagnostic demonstrate how technology can serve society when guided by ethical objectives. Now, in conclusion, we would be writing: technological project achieves its true purpose only when guided by ethical wisdom. Future belongs not merely to smarter technology but to societies capable of ensuring that innovation remains aligned with dignity, with human dignity, justice, and public good. So these were the 7 questions which we discussed today. So this question and answers were taken from Insights website. You can see this is the screenshot of Insights website. So I would request there should be no copyright strike from the institution. There is no gain of IAS civil services. It is only for educational purpose. I am spreading information. I am spreading the content. This content is already publicly available to everyone. I am just making videos for my community. This content does not belong to me. So these were the 7 questions which we discussed. Every day we would be discussing these questions. Please continue joining the live stream. Thank you.